To the Prime Minister, does he stand by his statement that by March 2010 New Zealand will be coming out of recession reasonably aggressively?
The Honourable Bill English on behalf of the Prime Minister.
On behalf of the Prime Minister, yes, he stands by his full quote from March 2009. The statement made in March 2009 was borne out by the fact that in the latter half of 2009 and early 2010, the economy went from a 1.5% contraction to 1.5% growth, quite a considerable turnaround.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Speaker, is it reflective of his aggressive recovery that the Mount Roskill New World supermarket, which opened today, when they advertised 150 jobs over the last couple of weeks, they got 2,700 applicants for 150 low-paid jobs?
The Honourable Bill English.
Well, Mr. Speaker, that many applicants is reflective of the sharp recession the New Zealand economy went through. A recession caused by two things: the global financial crisis and the mismanagement of the previous government.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Speaker, if the New Zealand economy was aggressively coming out of recession, why did nearly 20,000 additional New Zealanders join the dole queue over the last 3 months?
The Honourable Bill English.
Well, Mr. Speaker, the member might reflect on that himself, because here's a quote about strong economic growth. And I'll quote, "The world economy will grow at around 3.9% this year, so New Zealand can also expect strong growth." That came from Phil Goff, Labour leader, in January this year. He was predicting strong growth.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, in order to help young New Zealanders come aggressively out of recession, how many additional training opportunities has his government created to deal with the 65% increase in youth unemployment and the 68,000 young people currently not in work, education or training?
The Honourable Bill English.
Well, Mr. Speaker, the government, as part of the government's overall economic policy, the government has created both the Community Max and the Job Ops schemes, which offer thousands of jobs to young people. It has an infrastructure investment program which is supporting tens of thousands of jobs, and he can talk to the construction and contracting.
Order. Now, the House is very boisterous, and I didn't intervene when the Minister answered the previous question, but this question was pretty straightforward. It asked how many training opportunities, if I recollect the question correctly, have been created following a certain time. And I think the answer, the Minister may not have that information given the primary question, but the answer should at least attempt to answer that. The Honourable Bill English. The Honourable Bill English. Order. Now, I'm trying to deal with a Minister that I believe has not adequately answered a question. That's not assisted by interjections from the opposition. If they want to hear an answer, they'll show some respect. I expect to hear a better answer to that question. The Honourable Bill English.
Mr. Speaker, as I said in the earlier answer, the government has created the Community Max scheme and the Job Ops scheme, which provide thousands of on-the-job training places. We have a multi-billion-dollar infrastructure program which is providing hundreds of on-the-job training opportunities. We have, with the existing money, expanded the number of tertiary education places. We are taking widespread action to help young New Zealanders maintain their connection to the workforce. What we're not doing is cranking up government spending and encouraging people to borrow.
Order. The member. When I get to my feet, the Minister will resume his seat immediately. It seems the Minister doesn't have that information. Supplementary question, Honourable Leader of the Opposition. Chris Tremaine.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. To the Minister of Finance, what other excellent initiatives is the government implementing to lift New Zealand's economic growth?
The Honourable Bill English.
Well, Mr Speaker, our most urgent task has been to undo the damage done by the previous government, who blew out government spending, collapsed the tradable sector and left us with record external debt to foreigners. As part of our plan to fix that damage, we have reformed the tax system, we've got government debt under control, we've reprioritised $4 billion of low-quality public spending into frontline services, we've introduced national standards and the youth guarantee, we've cut red tape in a whole range of areas, we've injected hundreds of millions into innovation, research and development, we are investing billions in infrastructure such as roads, the electricity grid and the broadband rollout.
Answers are meant to be of reasonable length. I mean, there's nothing wrong with the answer, but it just went on and on. Point of order. Now, order. Order. Both members resume their seat immediately. Immediately, both members. Now, the House will actually come to a little order. It's just totally unacceptable, just the discourtesy to this place being shown. This is question time. And previously, when the Minister didn't want to answer a question, he was asked how many jobs. Now, he may not have had that information, but the member asking the question deserved a decent attempt to answer it. Now, when the Minister was then asked the following question by his own member, just go on and on and on, again, is not reasonable treatment of this House. The member had made a number of points and did not need to carry on. Now, if the members have a point of order they wish to raise with me, they're welcome to do so. The Honourable Bill English, point of order.
Well, Mr Speaker, the continuous applause through that answer encouraged me to keep going. And I think if you're going to set a standard of reasonable treatment in the House, then I will continue to give as extensive an answer as I can while I'm getting such encouragement from the opposition through their continuous applause.
Well, I don't think there is really a matter of order that needs addressing here. I'll hear the honourable member briefly.
Mr Speaker, I think I could get into trouble if I made the comment about if opposition members, government members want to clap in that way.
Order. No, I don't think we don't need to take this matter any further. I accept the point the Minister is making, Honourable Bill English is making, that where there's a lot of interjection, ministers naturally will feel provoked to carry on. And I accept that. And so I'm not blaming anyone in particular. I'd ask both sides of the House just be a little more reasonable. I realise the first day back after a recess, but a little more reasonableness would be helpful to the House. The Honourable Leader of the Opposition, supplementary question.
Supplementary question, Mr Speaker. How does his broken promise not to increase GST help economic recovery when retailers across the country are saying that this is the worst period for them in living memory because over half of workers have had no wage increases while prices are due to go up by his own reckoning at 5.9%?
Point of order, the Honourable Rodney Hyde.
Mr Speaker, at the risk of interrupting, I think it's unacceptable procedure in a question to load it in the way that there was this broken promise, because that is an accusation across the House. Now, you could argue that it's for the Minister to respond that there were no promises broken, but actually that would be the question then. And I just ask you to rule on these sort of epithets that get thrown around.
The Honourable Rodney Hyde is absolutely correct that that kind of question is out of order. And it's, to me, disappointing that by having supported the Honourable Leader of the Opposition to try and obtain information from the government, he then asked a question that strictly was out of order. Now, I didn't rule it out because I thought, well, there's licence for the Minister now to have a real flick back. And I don't like stopping ministers I'd rather ministers use those opportunities to attack back where members are foolish enough to make that kind of accusation in a question, because then don't seek my help if they don't like the answer they get. And so I don't like inserting myself too much into question time. However, the member asked that question. I'm not going to give him the luxury of further question. I invite the Honourable Bill English to answer it.
Mr.
The Honourable
Speaker,
Bill English.